On May 13th in 1917 rather, Our Lady of Fatima appeared to three children, Fatima, Portugal. That would be 99 years ago today, I think. Um, and it was a monumental event. Our Lady comes to three young children, Jacinta, Francisco, and Lucia, and tells them that they should pray the rosary. She's the Lady of the Rosary. She asked them to come for 6 months in a row to the same place, and she appeared to them 6 times in a row, ending on October 13th. The apparitions at Fatima have certainly been sanctioned by Pope John Paul II especially. He had great devotion to her. In fact, the bullet that the assassin shot into John Paul, he took to Fatima and placed it in the crown of Mary's statue there. I made 2 pilgrimages to Fatima in my priestly life. One, the first time was about probably 20 years ago. Took about 30 people to Fatima on a pilgrimage. It was a wonderful experience. That time there were 700,000 pilgrims at the shrine. And on the place where Mary appeared on a holm oak tree, they built a chapel. It's called the Capellina, which means little chapel. And one experience was when I was concelebrating Mass, the chapel is actually a tabernacle. You open the door and walk inside. And it was the most awesome feeling, like I open this tabernacle every day, and I'm so well aware of Christ's presence. But I walked inside, and the door shut behind me. And all of a sudden, I felt I'm right here with Jesus inside the tabernacle. It was a strange experience. The pilgrims, all the pilgrims wanting a piece of that tree that Mary appeared on, kind of ripped it all apart, and the tree was gone. But they built this little chapel on that very spot. That night, there was a procession and a ceremony, and the Bishop of Portugal was there, of Fatima, and he gave a sermon in Portuguese. There were probably about 500 priests there, maybe, from all over the world, and like I said, 700,000 people. And when he finished his sermon, he went over, there was a Paschal candle that was about 10 times as big as this one, and he lit a taper, and then he came down the steps and he walked into the crowd of priests, and he came right up to me and he said, "Father, what's your name? And where are you from?" And I told him, and he lit my candle, and he said, "Give the light of Christ to all these people." I felt like I was being ordained all over again. I turned around and there was a little old lady, and I lit her candle, and she kissed my hand. And then she gave the light to another and another. And from that one light, 700,000 candles were lit. It was the most magnificent scene in the world, and I thought, you see, in that vision, in that reality that day, I thought how important each individual is. One candle had a small light, 700,000 lit up the whole world. And each one of us represents those candles. We're given a candle at our baptism to be the light of Christ in the world. And we need to hear these words that Jesus said to Peter in the gospel today, "Do you love me?" We need to hear that every day. And our response is, "Yes, Lord, I love you." And then we must do as Mary did and as the saints did, go out and show that love of Christ to others. The message of Fatima was to repent of sin, to do penance, and to pray the rosary. To meditate on the mysteries of Christ's life is a great source of grace. And to do penance for sin, to ourselves turn away from sin, do penance for sins we've committed, and do penance for sin of the whole world. It was Mary's message. It was a real wonderful experience being there, but when I came home, I thought, Mary is here too. She's here with us too. One afternoon, I was in a meditative state, and I walked from the center of Fatima over to Valinhos, the little village where the three children grew up and lived. And in that village, they have preserved the home that the children lived in. And I went into the bedroom of Francisco, and remember, she appeared to him when he was on his deathbed, telling him that he would soon be in heaven. And it was just such an awesome feeling to be right in that room where Mary actually appeared to that little boy. And my thought was that every single person, even a little 7-year-old boy, is very important to our Blessed Mother. And we need to carry that thought with us today on her feast day, that we are each important to her. And Mary's role was to bring Christ to others, and our role is to bring Christ to others too, by our life and our work in our parish. And so today we thank God for this feast as we celebrate Mary's apparition. We thank God for that extended devotion to Mary, and we ask through her intercession that we follow her words of doing prayer and penance in reparation for sin. Let us stand and offer our petitions.